Hi, we are here at Chetwin Colombo 7 where Lanka Woman is having its first Women's Day celebration as the premier lifestyle women's magazine in Sri Lanka. Today we are celebrating women and we are having a panel discussion on digital women, on cracking the gender code and enabling more women to be a part of the digital revolution that is taking place. Lanka Woman has been the only magazine in Sri Lanka catering to middle and senior professional women. Today's event has been conceptualized by the marketing team of Vijay Newspapers to bring focus of the conversation on these very women, to discuss challenges they are faced with and to shed some light on ways we can all help women grow and conquer the world in the digital age.
Today, women are fighting for equity and equality in all spheres around the world. International Women's Day is celebrated around the world and it signifies issues such as gender equality, reproductive rights and violence and abuse against women. Eventually, these objectives have widened and strengthened with 4 United Nations Women's Conferences through the years, and today the focus is also on women's rights and participation in the political and economic process as well.
What I'm going to speak to you today is more of the practical implication of this rather than dissecting it theoretically. So, when it comes to gender equality, as it says on the topic, personally, I don't think there is an issue on gender equality here. Few years ago on every Women's International Day, we have been talking about breaking the glass ceiling. But I think now the glass ceiling is actually shattered. Women have excelled. They have broken the glass ceiling. And we have proven time and again. The question is not about equality. The question is, how do you on the subject of cracking the code, the question is definitely not on equality. However, I would rather like to reflect upon the DEI, that is the embracing of the concept of diversity, inclusiveness, and also the equity.
Coming to you first, I would like to get your free thoughts about this topic we are discussing today, because we know that you are an advocate for women empowerment, especially in leadership roles.
So I think the biggest advantage is that now the level of access you have to information. All of you here, or pretty much any woman today, has this magic wand or this ninja sword in your bag, this smartphone. If you look at, just go back 15 years, how difficult it was to get a cab, how difficult it was to find directions, how difficult it was to book a hotel, how difficult it was to, if you want to learn a subject, what? So now, from Google Maps to WhatsApp to YouTube to, if you look at all these technology platforms that is right now on your palm, it has really, I think, empowered and, let you guys, kind of fly. If you go back 15 years, there was always that gap. So I think that's the biggest advantage right now.
I think there is still certain amount of gap, especially when it comes to developing countries, rural areas. When we take it from a global perspective, internet penetration, there is a gap. The gap is reducing, because if you look at men being 53%, women being 41%, so it's not a big gap, but there is a gap. And in Sri Lanka, if you take basically digital literacy, there is a gap of 54% for men and 54% for women and 60% for women. And taking girls in the age of about 15, how many of them want to go into technology fields? It's about 2%. And in the ICT field, it's about 30% only who are women. So I think there's still room to improve, because if women do have this digital gap, that will actually make them disadvantageous in terms of their access to education and also financial inclusion and also other information of the world. So that's my take on that.
Perhaps being in the cities, we might find our ladies, our girl children having a lot more access. But going back just a year or two, I am sure all of us remember that during COVID, during the lockdowns, a lot of our girl children did not have access to education, right? On top of things like period poverty and all of that, was this issue of, not having a device to access education. So there is still more to be done, and perhaps organizations like yours, like the media, can do so much more. I know companies like Dialog to a lot came in, they brought in the technology, they tried their best to assist, but there is more to be done. And we heard, right, there's only about 31%, I think Indika was talking about it, 31% women who are employed. Imagine of the 50-odd% women out there in this country, if they were upskilled, immense potential of contributing not to anyone else, to our own country's GDP. So there's more to be done.
So I'd like to really see more women be a part of our industry. There's a lot of technology, there's a lot of innovation that's happening in our country, but there isn't enough women representation when it comes to developing messages for the women, right? So I believe that one part of that could be technology and innovation, because you need graphic, you need all that. But I don't know what the block is, but there is a need. There is definitely a need for women representation.
Well, I would of course say it's main thing is you need to introduce these from your schools. How many children are at an early age studying about entrepreneurship, studying about information technology, because even here I think it comes in as a subject, as an optional, and at the age of 15 I think they choose and they start studying at the age of 16. So that culture, that system has to change. Now when you compare it with Switzerland and all that, they are a child of 8 years, at the age of 8 they are studying on information technology.
When COVID happened, all of us got locked down, right? And then we introduced something called remote exams. No one would have imagined doing a CIMA exam in your own room, in your own home. Yes, it was invigilated by a proctor who was seated on the other side, but end of the day, imagine doing such a global prestigious examination, enabling that to happen. And in terms of Seema, we've been using technology to make education accessible, not just for the ladies and the women, but to anyone using technology. We moved from paper exams to online exams as far back as 2005. That was the time I was doing my certs. So a lot of technology has to be used. So one strategy would be using them, two, making it accessible at a lower cost, an affordable way.
Gauri, you were saying you were trying to push the stock exchange boards from 8% to 10%.
20.
Yes, you've grown to what?
20%.
Yeah. So, right, they're trying to push to 20%. So, Kapruka right now, it being a technology company, we are the highest ratio of women versus men. So we have 60% board members are female. And that, it's an untraditional technical company.
Yes.
So it's even harder sometimes, you might think, to get more women leaders to be on a tech company. So it's definitely possible, and I see this. It was done by choice, right? It wasn't like automatically it didn't happen like that, because this is a company I started. It's not like I had to bring in board members from outside. So that being the most important. Secondly, I think if I look at most my vertical categories within Kapruka, I see so many women leaders making leaps of advantages, and I think there are about 4 or 5 areas that I can pick where those women leaders outshine men. One is, I think, when it comes to empathy, it's a huge strength that I see in women leaders. Like my HR department is, if I look at that department as an example, and if I take the trait of empathy, there it is, that success story. Because I've had different types of leaders in our HR department, and now that the women leadership has taken over, it's a different place today.
When you have a diverse team, right, heading technology and innovation, with more women participation, you get different perspectives. I think that's exactly what Dulita also said. In order to do that, I think we need to create safe environment for them to work in, because there's a little more work-life balance that we may need to handle. Another thing is, I think Sahara said that, is maybe to collaborate with women-led organizations so that our messaging gets out there when it comes to gender equality. And I think at the end of the day, if we encourage women to get into more technology, innovation, and or advertising in the roles we can play, I think the perspectives will be better at the end of the day, and therefore your messaging might therefore be a little bit better.
When it comes to outskirts, not everybody has I don't think they really understand what this entrepreneurship is about. They think, it's something like one of those startups. You start, and then how you fail. So, and also their parents, to start with, especially the girls, the parents want them to get an education and actually go to a pre-COVID, this was the issue, even now, get a government job, because probably they think that's the best way to get them married, or to say that my daughter is having this kind of a job. And in addition, we also had a lot of youth leaving with the current situation. So having all these challenges, little things that we do from our company as such, we have tied up with the University of Peradeniya, where we get their graduates to come here, and we do give them internship. We do provide mentoring. So that kind of a facility we do provide. And in addition, we also have this system where we ask everybody to send their ideas to us. And when we do pick up those ideas, and they are also, we also give them an additional incentive and give recognition. So those are things we do promote, say, on a monthly basis, where we involve them.
Like in this room, everybody here knows how to use Google Maps, to all these tools that I talked about, Uber, to everything. But if you, again, as you said, if you go out of urban cities, how many women would know how to use Google Maps to this, even the basic tools? Right? They have it in the phone, they have it, and so you need to really push them to even a bank transfer, put on your HNB or commercial bank app, use the app to do it. But everybody in urban cities, women do it, but when you get to the second, third, fourth level cities, that's not there. But that's another one gap I see. The other one is about even the urban women. I think they need to be on top of things. Like if I ask this room, how many of you use ChatGPT today to help with your work? There'll be few hands coming up.
If there is violence going on, let's say, digital platforms, right, about women, right, for targeting women, I think those are the stories that you need to bring to life and retarget on those very same platform, right, and make it relevant, right, make it relevant to the men, right, because I'm sure their brother, the sister, mother, that story, and you use, I think, creativity at the end of the day. Our advertising is about stories, right? We sell brands, we do commercials, it's all stories, right? So why not use that power to take the message across and say absolutely no to gender violence, because it's affecting people, right? It's very dangerous. So I think you turn it around, you do a 360, you use stories, you make it relevant, you do it in a contextual way and retarget to those who are actually seeding this and seed it back on those same platforms. If somebody is using Twitter, put them back on the same platform.
Yeah, so basically having the digital literacy on the forefront will enable a woman to get access to information. So that in itself will place that woman at a better bargaining power, whether at a professional level or at a personal level at home. I think that is point number one. And the second one is on financial independence, which really helps to support an overall empowered woman. Because if you do have access to, you have digital literacy, so I'm referring to being not just being able to use an app, but I'm talking about going cashless, rather going paperless, so where you are able to set up a digital online platform, a payment gateway. So if you are having access to such, if you are able to create such platform for yourself, so whether you have a small business, you want to sell your own, even whatever the small business you do, it could be food, it could be clothing, it could be jewelry, whatever you do, your market becomes international. So that way, that gives access to finance. And secondly, even you could work part-time, you could work anywhere to any company in the world, because now remote working is greatly accepted everywhere. So again, these two will support a woman to get financial independence that will make a truly empowered woman.
That can be done by all of us, and it starts with each of you. Whether it's yourself using technology, just like the example that Mahesh has shared, or enabling and empowering someone else to use technology. One of the things, like I said earlier, where we spread the stories, like we said, spread the messages. So if you know something, if you know how digital is helping you, go out there, share that message. One of the points you were talking about was the safety space, right? Yes. So I remember this lady who started this thing called Not Your Nangi. Yes. She goes to all the schools and she educates. It's not for herself. She's doing it for our children, for our girl children, for our even boy children for that matter, right? So use this for your advantage, and for those who are perhaps in media, perhaps in authority, in power, where you can probably control discrimination happening in any sort of way, take action. Even start something small, because if you do something really big and bold, it'll take you time. You can't make policy changes in this country, we all know that, right? How long it takes. But start somewhere with what you can do, and let's help one and all.
So two things I would like to share. One is on mindset. I think that is the most important thing. How each of us change the mindset of ourselves and others around us to create this gender equity. to create to empower women, and that has to then comes to the second point of starting it at a young age. So it's not about deciding what you want to be or your interest in a subject matter when you're 18 or 19. But I think it starts as young as you're a toddler or from home. So parents have a great role to play by showing that equality, equity towards their sons and daughters, and also avoiding any sort of job stereotyping, encourage the children to take up whatever the profession or whatever the job they want to. So this would work both ways. I mean, it would work for boys also. If a boy wants to be a model, it should not be looked down upon. You know, a boy could be a model, the son could be the model, and the daughter could be the IT tech wizard. So that's still okay. So that, and then I think the message going down to school levels, because the children's mindsets are formed mainly through their parents and then through the teachers, because they are looking up to these teachers and parents when they are small. So that's the party we need to really reach down to and make sure that mindset change happens from a very young age. So that's my closing remarks.
A digitally empowered women's future is very, very bright, and in Sri Lanka and globally. I gave examples from Kopruka being a technological company, that how major role is played by women, and I've given examples of how they outshine men. But let me also give you an example of even from my home front, how I see that. So I have a 17 and an 18-year-old son and daughter, and both brilliant kids, but we all discuss very openly that my success is going to be my daughter. And because my son, he's going to be the CTO, he's the IT guy, but the leadership skills we are openly discussing at home. You're the one. So I think it's very bright.
There's one message I like to actually give, as most here are also women, and on the subject of entrepreneurship and why there are so many numbers less here in this country, is very often we overlook as to how you improve that. And networking is something that's very important for an entrepreneur, and even not only the first generation, but even for you to go to the second and the third. Networking is something very important. And here in Sri Lanka, what we find is the Sri Lankan entrepreneur is more clannish to himself in comparison to the Western entrepreneur. Because when you take a business from the startup to the business stage, and then also to a stage when your business is matured, you need to have different types of networks, starting with social networks, which I think we Sri Lankans are very good, because you have your close family and friends. But then when you go to the next stage, you need to develop your business networks, where we are not that great, but we are okay. But then for you to sustain it, you really need strategic networks, which I think most of us are weak, or most. And that is something you need to have these three in place, and then that's how you naturally even be able to innovate new products.
Gender equality is a shared responsibility. I think all of us have to do this. There's this saying, there's a boys' club. Right? I think it's time women started a girls' club and seriously help lead this initiative. Start by paying it forward. If somebody has helped you to come up, pay it forward, give it back, and hopefully to a woman. I think it starts with us, and I'd like to wish all of you all the best.
Do you think with the advent of AI, open AI coming in, that would enable women participation in innovation beyond the recruitment screening, or how it could actually change our lives to make us more empowered, or give us more space to equally participate in the economy?
Yeah, I think the OpenAI, all these platforms will come and flatten the space. It will just, make it 50-50. And again, the CTO, I mean, even my CTO is a female. She's only 28, running the entire IT department of the company. So there's very little bias. It depends on the leader of that company and that culture of each company, right? And from there only it really trickles down to all the departments, verticals. So if the top leadership looks at it differently, it trickles down. But to your point, all these new tools, this new wave of tools that are coming are going to flatten things. It's not going to make a bias.
I'd like to know what all the panelists have to say about educating the parents before the children on this whole issue. Because if we are going to actually educate the children on STEM, as Maheshi said, and going forward, networking, etc., I work a lot in the rural areas. And what we discussed today, for the rural areas, it's a bit tough on them. They don't have internet, etc. And just to give you one story, we met this lady who had come up with Kohila powder. And she had no way of marketing it. She brought we just went for some other thing and she came running and asked, "Can you help me?" She had absolutely no way of marketing it. So I took a packet and went home and made Kohila candle out of it. It was just amazing. Just pure Kohila. And then I thought I have to help her. So now we are going to start a factory there in that area, simply because she met us. But otherwise, tell me how these people in the rural areas can be educated to use what all of you said today. Any one of you, it doesn't matter.
If there are more stories like what you just said, and at village level, the whole village will now look up to this lady. When you set up that factory, when she starts making money, when people see trucks going into her house, and when people see her buying a car, that's what's going to change that village. And there will be a second entrepreneur, third entrepreneur, like that. So I feel like when you told me this story, I wish this happens in every, there are big 43 towns. Like I'm not talking small towns. Madara, Gaul, Kataragama, Anuradhapura, these are big 43 towns that are still, blank sheets where there are almost zero entrepreneurship. So more stories I think, is the most important thing to empower the digitization.
I see two solutions to this. Directly, it might not be possible because even if you call a parents meeting, half these parents can't come. Not because they don't want to, because they are hardworking earners, right? They need to work somewhere to earn on that day. So perhaps, again, media, whatever media that people in such rural masses would look at. It could be the news that they watch. They'll probably gather into someone's home and then watch the news. Or it could be like a media like Facebook, which a lot of people have, right? Even if they don't have anything else. So, Samaja Satkaryak wage, you can do that, right? Maybe if some organization who passionately care about it, they can perhaps take the message of this, because then it moves from just the urban cities to the rural talent. For example, there are BPO companies that work out of other villages, like Informate, John Kills. Such potential is there. So yes, we can convince the parents by telling them that there are such careers out there for your children. Number 1. 2. Kids who are already in school right now, and perhaps those who are in universities right now, would someday be these parents, right? So why not start educating them there? At least generations after, they will be aware of it.
I think very insightful. So my question is, we have 10,100 schools in this country. Out of that, 1,000 only science is taught only in 1,000 schools. So there are lots of schools where we don't have science education. Now, for us to crack the code, we need to have science, STEM education, right? So I know the role of advertising, media, advertising industry have a huge role to play. Still, when you look at our teledramas or the advertisements, we hardly see girls, young girls, women, and I'm happy to say Singer recently showing a man and a woman both sharing their roles in their kitchen, at least at that level, using some equipment, right? So I think we all have a role to play. So what are your thoughts on how to bridge this gap? I mean, at a ground level, we have a huge problem while we try to fly, but maybe Vijay Group have a huge role to play, and media industry, especially advertising, and also tech. Dulip, you have taken it to a different level. Gauri, through your entrepreneurial journey. I mean, how can we really bridge this divide?
So I would think again, it's actually like little baby steps at a time, because none of us will be really able to give an answer or work out a solution that will reach out to the entire population. So it will be one person out there who found this one lady and supported her and built a factory. It would be another one company going and setting up a company, a BPO outside Colombo, and another individual who might share his or her success story in the papers. And it's little by little, and it'll gradually, it's a gradual process. So starting, taking it out at different levels, attacking at different points. So we won't be able to reach out to all the parents, but we may be able to reach out to 5% of the parents, which is better than reaching nobody. And so I think it's every one of us also have a responsibility there to, at least in our own ways, support in the society, to get someone on board, to get the understanding across, to get this message across, so that overall we could see even another 2 years, 3 years down the line, or as the next generation comes, there will be a difference.
So on behalf of Vijay, I would like to pledge one thing, that we will do our next workshop outstation, focusing Sirikata maybe, I believe, because that is what we need to do. And just to add something else, that actually when we wanted to get the audience here today, we had so much of difficulty. But here we have different representation from the professionals. We have doctors, we have in the government sector, we have private sector. So I believe the audience here responsibility today is to take this message across. Wherever, to your circles, go to your companies, go to your colleagues, and to your families, and to your community. So we are all talking about learning something here. So I think it's a pledge that we need to take. Whatever we are learning today should be taken back to the society and the community and to our families.
On behalf of my company, I extend a sincere thank you to our panel who spared the time from their busy schedules to grace this occasion. As we come together to celebrate the progress that women have made, we are reminded of the challenges that lie ahead. Let us continue to work together to create a more inclusive and equitable society where every woman has the opportunity to reach her full potential. First and foremost, it has been an honor to have such a distinguished panel of speakers. Thank you for sharing your valuable insights and experiences with us. Once again, thank you to everyone of you for being here today and for making this evening a memorable one. We hope that you enjoyed the coffee, the food, the conversations, the knowledge gained, and the new friendships made.
We have one of our eminent panelists joining us right now. Gauri, how do you feel about this evening?
Great, and great to be here, and I must say it was a very good event that you all have organized, and especially at a time when the digital gap is great, and I'm glad that from the Vijay News Lanka Women Wing has organized this, and I hope whatever that was discussed today will have a far-reaching effect, not only in the lives of all of us here, but also in the lives of those whom we engage.
Hi Rakshika, thank you for joining us. How did you find today's event?
Hi, thank you very much for the invitation, and I found it extremely inspiring. I think you all should have more and more of this, and it's an amazing turnout today. A lot of women need empowerment, and what better way than women empowering women. So I think Lanka Woman has done a great job, and I think over the years I've been like reading Lanka Woman for so many years. So I think over the years, everyone who has got featured and is going to get featured is definitely being empowered. So it's a great thing that you all have done.
Do you hope to see more events of the kind?
Of course I do. That's why I just asked Gayani, will you all organize a few more? And I think there's like a lot of women who in terms of empowerment needs entrepreneurship, different areas, personal development, mental health and well-being, exercise, different various topics I'm sure could be of use.
We have Dr. Sunetra Nugawela joining us. Dr. Sunetra, how do you feel about today's event and what did you gather from the panelists' discussion this evening?
It was a wonderful evening, I must say, and it is a novel concept which should be continued in my opinion. I am a terrific LW fan. I have been on the cover page some time back. Actually, my wedding was on cover page. This we have to go out. LW, Lanka Woman magazine, is a wonderful magazine.
So you have been a long-time reader of Lanka Woman. How do you feel about the digital discussion that we had this evening?
It is a fantastic idea. I must congratulate the team for the wonderful insight. This is a need of the day. Social media is ramping up. So it's frantically the good idea, the best idea which has come out. So I wish good luck.
Hi Asita, we hope you had a good evening. What do you feel to be here as a woman of this new generation?
Hi, good evening, Kalani. It was really empowering to see that a lot of women are going into technology now. But it is like Kapruka and a lot of like leading companies having mostly women in their systems. It's very, very encouraging since women don't go into like STEM programs like we said before, and there's a lot of women in health as well. But I'm from the health sector, so we need more women going into like little areas in health, like health administration, surgery, where there's still boys club, but then I'm really encouraged that in technology it's going up, so maybe in the future it will be the same for health administration and surgery and all the other aspects that men are dominating right now.
Right, there was an idea to start a girls club this evening. Will you be starting that?
Yes, of course. All of us would love to have a girls club anywhere, but that doesn't mean that we're trying to discriminate against men. We just want to be part of the conversation.